Brandon Swanson didn't disappear in the woods. He disappeared while he was still talking to his parents on the phone. For almost 45 minutes, Brandon calmly walked through the dark Minnesota countryside, convinced he was heading toward lights and safety, while his parents drove around looking for him. They could hear him. They could guide him. They were so close. And then Brandon said 2 words, words his parents still remember like a gunshot. "Oh shit." The line stayed open. They kept calling his name. But Brandon never answered again. Brandon Swanson was 19 years old. A college student. No criminal history. No reason to run. On the night of May 13, 2008, he was driving home in western Minnesota after spending time with friends. Sometime late that night, he made a wrong turn. He ended up on rural gravel roads, flat farmland, ditches, fields, and long stretches with almost no houses. Then it happened. Brandon's car went into a ditch. He wasn't injured. The car was stuck, but he could still use his phone. So he called his parents, Brian and Annette Swanson, and told them he'd crashed near a small town. Here's where the nightmare begins. Brandon believed he was near Lind. His parents got in the car immediately and started driving to find him. Brandon stayed on the phone, giving directions based on what he thought he was seeing. Distant lights, road signs, the general layout of the area. But something was off. As his parents drove around Lind, Brandon kept saying he could see their headlights, yet they couldn't see him. They'd stop the car, flash the lights, honk the horn, nothing. Brandon insisted he was close. He wasn't. At some point, Brandon said he was going to start walking toward the lights he believed were in town. He left his car behind, still talking to his dad on the phone. This call wasn't short. It wasn't rushed. It was normal, almost casual. Brandon talked about where he was, what he was doing, and what he could see. He mentioned passing fences. He mentioned fields. He mentioned water at one point. His father tried to keep him calm and keep him in one place, but Brandon kept moving. Then came the moment that turned this from a kid stuck in a ditch into one of America's most haunting missing person cases. While still on the phone, Brandon suddenly said, "Oh shit." And then, silence. Not a hang-up. Not a deadline. The call stayed connected. Brandon's dad could hear faint ambient noise, like wind, maybe distant movement, but Brandon never spoke again. His parents called his name. Over and over. No answer. They dialed back immediately. Voicemail. Brandon's mother called 911. By morning, authorities began searching. The first goal was simple: find the car. And when they finally did, it explained everything and made everything worse. Brandon's car wasn't near Lind. It was near Taunton, Minnesota, roughly 20 to 25 miles away from where everyone had been looking. That means for nearly an hour, Brandon and his parents were essentially operating off a false map in the dark. Brandon thought he knew where he was. His parents trusted his directions. And every minute that passed, Brandon walked farther away from the only people trying to save him. Search teams combed the area around the car. Dogs tracked scent. Helicopters and volunteers searched ditches, culverts, fields, and waterways. The landscape around there is deceptively dangerous. Deep drainage ditches, tall grass, mud, and small bodies of water that can swallow sound. But they found no blood, no clothing, no phone, no footprints that led to a clear answer. Just emptiness. So what happened to Brandon Swanson? There are a few leading theories, and none of them feel satisfying. The first is the simplest. Brandon fell into a ditch, a creek, or flooded farmland, and couldn't get out. In the dark, with uneven ground and steep embankments, it's possible to go down hard and disappear into water or mud before anyone realizes what happened. If Brandon slipped at the exact moment he said, "Oh shit," it would explain the sudden cutoff without a hang-up. Another theory is misadventure plus exposure, that Brandon got turned around, kept walking, and collapsed somewhere hidden by grass or terrain. Rural areas can look open, but hide a body incredibly well, especially after weather and time. And then there's the theory that people whisper but can't prove, that Brandon encountered someone. A passing vehicle. A landowner. A stranger. Something that startled him enough to say, "Oh, shit," and then he was gone. But here's the detail that makes this case feel cursed. Brandon was talking to help. He wasn't isolated in the way most missing people are. He had a lifeline. He had a live call. He had people actively searching. And still he vanished. No confirmed sightings after that phone call. No physical evidence. No resolution. Just one last burst of fear, 2 words, hanging in the air like a warning. If Brandon Swanson is out there, the answer is somewhere in those dark Minnesota fields. And the question is simple. What could happen in a quiet, empty countryside that makes a 19-year-old say, "Oh shit," and then disappear forever?